I'd like to demo the ADJ Airstream DMX app, and I'll be using a iPhone 6s. So I'll start the app, and you'll see there's an alert that says the device has been connected to the custom hardware, which allows the app to control intelligent lighting. So this app has 5 tabs on the bottom that are always visible. And these tabs are for addressing each step of your workflow when you're designing a light show. So the first tab is fixtures, which is the view that you're seeing now. And you have 24 fixture buttons, which can be highlighted in order to address single fixtures or groups of fixtures. In this case, I've highlighted the top 4 buttons. And to create your list of fixtures, you would go to the patch navigation button at the top here, and provides a list of all the fixtures that are assigned to each button. We have 24 buttons. So when you want to make an assignment to a button, you select that row, and you're given a library of lighting fixtures. It's quite large. These are all the American DJ lights that this works with. And you'll notice there's a check mark next to spot LED Wi-Fi. So if we wanted to do, say the one above, spot elite, we would just select that one. And select how many that you want to use. In this case, it's set to 1, but if you want to do set up 4, and they create 4 buttons in a row that use the same light. We'll just set it to 1, hit patch, and go back to there, and you'll see, Spot Elite has been assigned to button 1. We can give it a new button image, which would match that particular light. And we can even go in and edit this fixture in case we wanted to change some of the names of the channels. Although this is how it comes up from the library, it's already preset for you, and everything's done. But if you wanted to go in there and make some changes, you can do that. So anyway, we'll go back to the buttons, and you'll see now that the first switch has been switched to Spot Elite. So once you've got fixtures highlighted, your next step would go to the Channels tab, which I'll do here. And from the Channels tab, we have several views to work with. The first view is a scrolling list of sliders that represent each channel, control channel on the light. Got pan, tilt. In this particular light, we have color, gobo. Another view is a color picker. If a light you've selected has RGB features, in this case we can pick these pars here. These all have RGB. Tab back to the color picker, and then touch and select the color. It'll update the RGB levels. And most of these lighting fixtures also have amber channels, white, some have UV, and almost all of them will have a dimmer, so it's easily accessible right here. So any fixture that you've highlighted, and you can go back and forth, say I want to just control the color on those two, you can go back and forth and do those. Now if we go back to these type of fixtures here that have moving heads, we've got another view that allows you to set the pan and tilt and position the heads where you want to position them. Now at any time that you're editing channels, you can hit the save button up in the upper right here, and you'll have access to a list of scene buttons, and you can save whatever you've created here as a scene. In case you have an empty scene here on 13, I'll hit 13, and it'll automatically, the button color will adjust to whatever the last color you selected. And there's a default name, file name, and a button label which you can go in and edit. Say success. Hooray. All right, then we have a scene 13 saved here. And we'll get to that because I'm going to show the scenes tab in a minute here too. The next tab I'm going to show is the effects tab. And we have three basic effects that the app provides. A motion effect for moving lights that have pan and tilt channels. And here's an example of an effect. I'm just calling it Circle 1. That moves the lights in a circle. We have a hue changing effect that basically goes through the hue gamut at whatever rate of speed you want. And then we have a flash effect that flashes selected fixtures in a chase. So the first editor I'll show is the shape editor. And we have three types of shapes to work with, or ways to edit shapes. You can just have a circle. It'll draw the circle for you. And you can pinch to change the size. Use your finger to move the circle position around. Because a lot of these moving heads, have different scales of how they'll actually present the shape that they're drawing. You can run the shape, and your lights will move as you're doing the editing here. Adjust the speed, and the white dot represents the beam that the head's doing. Forward, reverse, motion. Stop. There's a free draw where you can actually just draw the shape that you want. It doesn't look very good, but anyway, you can run it and it'll show you what it's doing. You can pinch, move it. Clear, start over. Then if I hit the close button, it basically just closes the shape. Stop that. And then the other one is point to point, right? Points. You can just basically if you don't close the shape, it just bounces from end to end. So at any point, once you've got the shape you want, hit the save button, save FX, and grab an empty button here and give it a name. And there's a default name there, effect 4, button label 4, and just hit save. And the file with this name already exists, overwrite. I'm just going to cancel it because I've already got something there. But anyway, shape. The other effects editor is the color effects. And what you do is you select the fixtures that you want to control with the effect as before. We'll go with these guys again. And right now it's set to the full gamut, and it's running a 20-second loop. So if I just hit loop, I'll go hit run, and it's kind of a fast, the color blocks are showing you what the lights are doing. And you can slow that down. You can run that all the way down to like an hour. And if you want to run for an hour, it'll take an hour to go through the entire gamut. If you have like a real slow, like an hour show and some background lights or something. You can set the endpoints of where you want the effect to run. I'll just have it go between green and blue. I'll set it to bounce and speed it up. And that's basically the effect. And you save it just the same as you would the other effects. The other effect is called flash effect, and it's basically a flash chase. And each of the buttons in the upper part of the view here represents one of the fixtures. So if I want to create a flash chase, I would just pick the buttons in the order that I want them to flash, hit run, and I'll speed it up a little bit. So that's the order that I selected those buttons, and I can keep adding if I want. And this adjusts the intensity, adjusts the brightness of the effect, obviously the speed, and then if you hit clear, start over. Loop bounce is if I go 1, 2, 3, 4 and run, loop, just going to go in a loop. If I hit bounce, it's just going to go back and forth, bounce back from left to right. So pretty self-explanatory. So once you've got effects saved in memory, then you just essentially turn them on with the effects buttons. The next tab is scenes. So once you've saved scenes, you call them up one at a time, and the lights respond however you saved the scene, and any effects you were running while the scene was created are included. At the top there's a solo button that if you turn solo off, it allows you to run scenes simultaneously if channels don't overlap. If scenes are using the exact same channels, then they're going to override the other scenes. So in this case, these 3 scenes are all controlling different channels, so they can all be on at the same time. So, and then toggling a button off basically turns the scene off. So to assign a scene brings us back to this table of all the button assignments. And we've got 72 scenes to work with. And we have 3 pages of scene buttons. So I can swipe to get at the other buttons here. And if you hit the detail button, it gives you a list of all your scene files. And even though you've only got 72 scene buttons, you can have however many files you want, and just reassign the files to the buttons, so you can have a whole library of buttons saved up, or of scene files, so you can call on them later. And the final tab is what we call shows, and shows are basically just a list of scenes that play back on a timer, and when you turn a show on, it's going to call whatever scenes were in that show and hold the scene for however long that you program the scene to hold. So to edit a show, we'll go to the assignment, very similar to how we did scenes, and I'll pick an empty one here and create some empty steps. So step 1, hit the up button, and I'll pick scene 1, set this hold time to 9 seconds, step 2, scene 2, hold it for 3 minutes, step 3, scene 3, hold it for 25 seconds. Anyway, you get the idea. If you want to rearrange the order, hit the edit button. Move this one up to here, move that one down to there. Add more steps, remove steps, the usual. Done. And then when you want to save the show, hit save. Default name, default button label, same as with scenes, touch the button and set the color that you want. Hit save. And we're done. Now we've got show 5 with this kind of awkward looking button. And as with shows, if you hit the detail button, it shows you all your different files, and you can assign a different file to that button. If I want to put the same thing that's on button 1 on button 5, there it is. So